Thank you so much for joining us on a Tuesday night from the Basement Podcast Studios of First Amendment Sports. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
Man, I'm happy to be here. We got some dudes in the basement tonight that know what the hell they're talking about. Looking forward to hearing that.
He's Tim Strachan.
Hey, guys, I'm looking forward to tonight because basketball might be over, but we got a lot of good stuff coming up in the spring, man.
The WCAC does not stop after the winter. We learned it last year, and we learned it real well. And we learned it so well that we decided we have to cover it more. And so that's what we're doing. The First Amendment Sports Lax Days package, working title. We are going to be getting started this Friday night, tentatively and currently scheduled at Georgetown University on Friday. But wherever the game is played, you can watch it here on First Amendment Sports. Please do us a favor. Go on this link right here. Click a subscribe. It's free. It'll let you know when we're going live. For all the games we have on our lacrosse schedule and any other WCAC spring games that we intend to do. Thank you so much for that. Again, it's free, and we very much appreciate it. And with that money that you're not paying, we had just enough to hire the crackest team of lacrosse professionals.
Wait, you're paying us?
Well, no, with the money we're not getting.
We're all sharing it.
Yeah,
we're all
we're all equal shares amongst us all.
Exactly, equal.
Let me start all the way over here. Cabell, Maddux, DMV Lax, Maddux, a known name in lacrosse in the area. Thank you so much for making us look and sound good on the field this spring.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's the best season of the year.
It's the best season of the year. Matt Rienzo, and I didn't give you a high school just because, we're gonna go to Gonzaga here for a second. But an area guy, an IAC and WCAC expert, and just forever in lacrosse. Before I say prior to Gonzaga and Georgetown, Matt Rienzo here. Class of 93.
Cabell's been a staple in the D.C.
Yes.
lacrosse market for 25 years. So, not a WCAC grad, but coached in the WCAC. So, I feel connected.
I would say St. John's, right? Pride
Yeah,
of.
you know it, man.
Come on, we're going to say all the names.
I just want to say before we get started, I'm psyched to be here, and you guys are legends in the D.C. sports world. So I'm just happy to be sharing this table with you. I'm just a little concerned why I have the small mic and you have the big one.
Yeah. That's why on the first day. On the first day, you don't just.
Hey, Rook.
Asking for stuff.
Hey, Rook.
He's already asking
Hey,
for
Rook.
things.
Easy. You'll get your time will come. Your time will
So
come.
doesn't he have to earn it?
T and I had one of those cheerleading bullhorns when
Yeah.
we first started down here. So the future is bright, my friend.
The first time we could afford to upgrade the microphones at all, we could only get one. And I brought it down to the basement. And so now, I set it up, and I'm talking into it, and those guys were holding those mics, and I sounded like Lionel Richie, like Billy D, just smooth and amazing. At least in my mind, I did.
Interesting comps there.
And then these guys are like, why are we? You're on the microphone that makes you sound great, and we're just like shouting into this thing in your basement. But it was great.
Yeah, it was definitely like prayers to start the school day in first grade.
You've come a long way. You've come a long way.
We have come a long way because we found something that everyone knows, which is everyone loves the WCAC. We're from it, we love it, and this is where we want to be and what we want to be talking about and doing. And in springtime, in the WCAC, lacrosse is where we want it to be. As WCAC sports fans, T and Kevin and I have the honor of showing up at these football fields and in these gyms and watching, the best football and the best basketball in the country, hands down on an in and out basis. And one thing we've talked about in the past about lacrosse specifically is that regionally lacrosse has always been real strong. The WCAC has taken time to build up what is going to be an awesome tradition and legacy of lacrosse, but at this point in time, we're like right on that razor's edge of where, what yesterday is no longer yesterday, it's today. And I think that's showing up in the box scores and the headlines that we're seeing even today.
No doubt.
So
you can say the same thing for lacrosse. It's like WCAC lacrosse is there. It's the best in the country. It can be compared to football and basketball now on a national scale. You're gonna find
that wasn't the case, 25 years ago.
Not at all.
I've been involved with the WCAC since 1989.
That's a long time ago.
The
But
80s?
yeah, and back then, lacrosse wasn't what it is now, obviously, and it's really expanded across the country, but especially in this market. And the WCAC is as strong as any conference in the country. It's as strong as Baltimore. It's as strong as Long Island. It's as strong as upstate New York, and I think that's saying a lot.
I mean, let's start with that right now because there are other leagues and other teams though in this area that get deservedly so a lot of recognition for having great programs. Where do they stand up right now against the IAC? Certainly, there's been some matchups already, and I think there's a couple more on the rise. And where do you guys see these games?
Sure, I think historically, you would favor the IAC over the WCAC back in the '90s for sure, and then in the 2000s, the tide started to shift a little bit, and I think Casey O'Neill being at Gonzaga the last 14 years or so, however long he's been there, he's really turned it around for Gonzaga. And
Who was the coach before him?
well, there's been a few coaches. There was Pete Behor.
Tim
Th-
Walsh.
Then there was myself for
Yes.
1 year.
Okay.
And Donnie Giblin for I think 6 or 7 years.
That's right.
Donnie Giblin really took the program to another level, and then there was a couple coaches between him and Casey O'Neill. And Casey's really just set the bar extremely high. He's, one of the things that you'll see in the WCAC and the IAC, and we'll talk about some of those matchups, but those are basically college level coaches. If you look across this area, the DMV lacrosse area, you've got a bunch of guys who either did coach in college. Wes Speaks at St. John's, coached at Gettysburg. Scott Urich at Georgetown Prep, coached at Georgetown University. Casey O'Neill didn't coach in college, but he's a college level coach. And those types of guys are now coaching high school programs. And when you go and watch these games in the DMV, whether it's IAC or WCAC, they're college level programs in terms of how they're run, the types of athletes that they have, how disciplined they are, how organized they are. It's really impressive.
It's a year-round effort for them too, just like college almost.
Yeah.
Especially in WCAC where it's hard to be a multi-sport athlete. You see St. John's and Gonzaga training heavily in the fall and winter now.
Yeah, you got to keep up with the Joneses, and that's no different than what we've been doing on the football field and the basketball courts. And this is exciting, very exciting to have both you guys here talking about this tonight because we can say it all we want, and we do.
We do.
But from the horse's mouth, from guys that have been around this game for 25 years, this is a big deal for First Amendment sports. A big deal for me because I've got a couple family attachments in here and whatnot. But this is the WCC that we love. It's all about the kids, and they never let us down. They haven't yet, and I promise you guys, this spring, that they won't again. It's coming.
Still loaded with athletes out there.
Yeah, and I think just the last couple of days alone speak volumes of the level of talent in the DMV. I mean, Gonzaga today beat Boys Latin by a goal at the last second. Also last weekend there were some other big games. St. John's beat Landon today, so that's the WCAC.
Georgetown
versus
Prep
Landon.
just beat Gilman. Another.
And St. John's beat Prep.
Yeah.
If I'm just telling, we're talking about the transformation of these things. In 1995, if I got a text saying St. John just ran off 10 straight goals against Georgetown Prep, I would have been like, come on, man. By the way, we weren't texting then, so I don't know what I'm doing. But
Or
you know what I'm
swiping
saying.
right.
But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Like,
Either one of those
wow, they did what? They were down 3-0, then they went on a 10-0 run? Yeah, we don't hear about that, man. The playing field has leveled locally. No doubt about it.
We're going to be talking about Prep Gonzaga throughout the show, and so we love our Gonzaga fans because we've come to learn that they love it as much as we do, and so we've come together on that. And our first year of First Amendment Sports broadcasting, it was basically like the Gonzaga Championship Network, which is awesome because then you get to know guys like Casey and Joe Rada and Randy and all the amazing coaches, and then all those kids' parents. So awesome community at Gonzaga. The Gonzaga Prep matchup is a big deal, and they focused in on the football side for so many years, 17 years, and that game ends, and all the talk now is about this Prep Gonzaga lacrosse tradition.
The
right?
lacrosse game took on its own legacy, and it was one-sided for so long, and now it's been spread out over the last 10 years or 15 years.
Yeah, the Gonzaga Georgetown Prep game, like you said, was one-sided for so long. Just like the Landon Georgetown Prep game was so one-sided for so long. I think it was like 17 years in a row or something that Landon beat or more that beat Georgetown Prep, and the same was true for Gonzaga and Georgetown Prep. Gonzaga just couldn't overcome couldn't overcome that hurdle, and they've been able to do it now for several years. And so this is really just a big matchup of two Jesuit institutions, two great schools, two great communities. awesome coaches, great student athletes, and it's going to be really exciting. Last year they played at Georgetown University for the first time, and there was a couple thousand fans there. This year it's at Georgetown again, and it's just going to be an electric atmosphere.
And all the boys know each other too. It's deep rooted. Like the rivalry is intense. Most of them, and you can speak to this, start at modern day, and then they split about evenly now and go between Prep and Gonzaga. And not everyone's from there. They have plenty of other recruits, but those guys are some of the top players that we'll talk about later. But it's a heated rivalry. And it used to be Prep Landon, but I think Prep Gonzaga draws more fans probably to the game this Friday night. It's going to be packed.
A lot more
I don't know what's going to be awesome.
There's
I
a lot
can't
more family atmospheres between
Yeah.
those two schools.
What's the capacity? Because they're hitting it on Friday night.
Well, let's hit it early so you can log in later.
All right, so Coach Urick and Coach O'Neill combined have a very impressive record. You talked a little bit about West Peaks. The other thing we talk a lot about in the basement is the coaching. You know, from every sport in the WCAC, the manner in which it shows up. So I might ask you, since we've mentioned a few coaches' names and programs for that matter, is there a lot of differentiation between the way in which these guys run their systems, their programs?
Totally.
So what are we going to see on Friday night in terms of that?
Would you want to speak to Gonzaga? And I'll
Sure.
talk about Prep?
Yeah. I think there definitely is a difference. And Casey O'Neill is a very structured, organized, disciplined coach. He's got a track record, and his kids buy in, and they're just very disciplined and
No
organized.
Fogo.
No Fogo right now.
Athlete.
No, they probably should have one,
Athlete.
No
Yeah.
Fogo for
Yeah, but when you're 119-9 in the
I know.
WCAC,
You can argue.
you can have no photo,
Yeah, no photo's
whatever
fine.
you want, dude.
Yeah.
And Scott Urick, truth be told, is one of my best friends. He's like a brother to me. We worked together at Georgetown for 10 years. And I've got just such respect for him as a human being and as a mentor for young men. He's a player's coach. He's makes practice fun, and the kids just love him. And so a little bit different styles, but just awesome results both ways.
Another testament to this idea that we talk about all the time too, because in Gonzaga Prep, there's no love lost a lot of times on the field. But just like amongst all the schools in the WCAC, you spend 4 or 5 years banging heads, and then for the rest of your life, you realize, oh, God, we should be best friends because
Totally.
because
Yeah,
why
yeah,
wouldn't we
yeah.
be?
Breakout, yeah. And Wes speaks too. I mean, he's an outstanding coach. He comes from Gettysburg, like you said, and I could not believe everything he was throwing at Prep in the first game of the season last week. He had zone defenses, man-to-man defenses. He had inbounds plays. He had picks on subbing. It was Division I level coaching and at the highest level in the first game of the season.
Yeah, and then today, the Landon St. John's game, both teams are playing zone. So these teams are prepared earlier in the season than they've ever been before. They're ready for the different wrinkles that teams are going to throw. It's crazy. I mean, they're so organized, and they're ready to go. I don't want to leave out a couple pretty key coaches in the area, too. Bullis is an outstanding program. Jeff Balestri, what he's done there is really amazing. They're in the hunt to be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the area, without a doubt. And
DeMatha goes there, I think, this week, right? Doesn't DeMatha Bullis play this week?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
math is up this year. They're good.
It'll be a good
and
test. for
Bullis
them.
played McDonough today. Do you know the result of that yet? Is it out?
No, it's going. I think it's going on right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone's
Well, it's
going to
just
run
about
in
to
here with
end.
a little piece of paper any second.
Yeah, we need that.
We do expect
It was
an
a late
update.
start. It was a 7 p.m. start, so it's probably wrapping up.
And the other one is Landon, Ian Healy.
Coach Healy's doing a great
they're
job
just-
over there. He's a University of Maryland grad and student of the game, and an X's and O's kind of genius type.
And he took over for a legend, Rob Boardley, and that's hard to do, and he's done a great job. So there's just incredible coaching in this area. It's great for the kids. It's
Yes.
great for the fans.
McDonough wins 8-5.
Over Le Boulet.
What?
Police.
Over Le Boulet. So can DeMatha beat Bullis this week?
I would think that Bullis wins that game.
Okay.
Yeah, DeMatha's up. They're better for sure, but they've been kind of second tier in the WCAC Big Boy League with St. John's and Gonzaga and
Over the
Paula
last few
6.
years.
Paula
Yeah,
6.
Paula-
Don't forget about Paula 6.
So we have Paula 6 on our schedule. We're still working out the details, but Gonzaga PVI later this season. We know we're going to have Prep Landon, Prep Bullis. We got the WCAC tournament in May. So we're going to get these matchups. We're working on adding some games to the best of our abilities.
I think DeMatha could be right now the third best team in the league. I think Paul VI graduated a lot, and DeMatha kept a lot.
That's right where you want to be. I mean, if you're in the top 3 or 4 of the WCAC, that means when it comes time to the tournament, one game, you show up for. We've seen a team win one game over teams they shouldn't have beaten all the time.
Well, that happens all the time. That's why you play the game, right?
That's why you play the game.
You know, Bob Waters at Paul VI has done a great job in the last handful of years.
Yeah.
And
Pat Young, the new coach at Bishop Ireton, he's 2 years out of University of Maryland. He plays in the PLL, the Pro League. He had BI's best season in 20 years last year.
Who they just beat someone too. They came out of the gates.
St. Andrews from over here in
Yeah.
Potomac.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do they lose kids in their move, or are they gaining just as
Paul
many?
VI?
Yeah.
That was BI. That was
No. Paul VI is moving out to Chantilly or Haymarket or wherever that is.
Yeah,
next year.
you know, actually, my nephew plays basketball at Gonzaga, and that's one example of a kid that ended up going to Gonzaga because of the move. He wanted
he
to
live
go
in
there as
Fairfax
well.
County?
He lives in Vienna. Yeah.
If you live in Fairfax County, you're probably gonna stop going, but they'll get every Loudon kid from here on out.
And I think
Yeah,
that,
and that's
I think
good, right?
from a
That's a lot of
sports
kids.
perspective, it might be better in the
Yeah.
long run because
Lot
there's
more
so
athletes out
many
there.
kids
A
out
larger
there.
pool, a larger
Yeah,
pool to
there's
pull
so many
from.
athletes out.
But we
in
said the
Loudoun
same
County.
thing for Good Counsel, and it hasn't really worked in all their sports.
It's different. It's weird. And here's the only thing. How about you got to go from that facility to Good Counsel, or you're at St.
Or
Mary's
Riken.
Riken. Now you got to go to Leesburg. Like, you know, hey,
Crazy.
it's what it
That's
is.
nuts.
It is what it is. But you know what? That's the sacrifices that we make to be a part of what this league is all about.
No doubt.
If you want to play the top competition, you know, you're not worried about a car ride or two. So.
Shout out to Coach Brady, who I saw picked us up today on our show tonight. He must be a big time lacrosse fan because he was getting involved today. Football coach down at Riken.
Nice.
Well, those Leonardtown boys like to play some lacrosse now.
Yeah, they do.
They
Yeah, they
do.
do. That's my neck of the woods.
You know, Aaron Brady and I coached together. He was a football coach at Georgetown when I was lacrosse coach
I
there.
knew there
So
was a
He and I
connection.
go way back.
Yeah.
I knew there was. I knew that connection existed.
man.
I couldn't have labeled it, so but glad to give him a shout out because that's my neck of Maryland. It's where I'm from, and by the way, the cradle of Maryland lacrosse. If we're being honest, the Chesapeake Bay.
What are you doing with your hands?
Well, I think
I think he's crabbing. Is it?
Sorry,
I
the
was gonna say,
cradle. The cradle.
Can
the
we have
cradle.
guests? We have
I
guests.
told you guys it was going to get weird.
Is that a crabbing motion?
I hope
was
so.
crab-
And I hope it's a soft shell because I'm starving.
You Maryland crabbing.
But speaking of that, Rienzo, I think football coaches and lacrosse coaches can appreciate cross sport athletes for those two sports together. If you can
There's
find-
no question.
You can
about
find someone who can do both well. That's a good athlete right there.
it. Most college lacrosse coaches love a 2 or 3 sport athlete because they're versatile, they're tough. You know, you pick up a lot of other things by playing different sports that you don't when you just play one sport. And I think
Amen.
it just really helps.
Amen.
Well,
you're
when
in
you
the
s-
right place for that conversation.
The
When you
same-
brother.
when you see a lineman like the Pettibones playing lacrosse with that kind of footwork, a college football coach is going to go, he could do that with his feet.
Well,
but
Yeah,
then
there's
also be-
there's a reason why he's
also
such a
be
good
6'6",
lineman is because
300
he could
pounds.
move his feet on
Yeah.
the basketball court,
Absolutely.
and he could move his feet
He was
on
on
the
a
lacrosse
basketball
field.
player too. Yeah,
The
Unbelievable.
goalie, the starting goalie for St. John's, who's probably the best or the second best goalie in the entire area,
George Alvarez.
George Alvarez, is committed to Harvard. He also plays on the football team at St.
Yeah.
John's.
Yeah, great kicker.
And he's been outstanding, and he has been clutch, and that obviously helps on both
Does
fields.
he kick and punt? Or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Mr. Alvarez, who's been a great friend of our operations over at St. John's.
You know
Proud of
what?
his son for good
I know
reason.
we're talking about personnel in a second, but if I were to say like one player I had to draft to be the start of my team, it might be him.
Wow.
He's that good. He's
Wow.
probably my number 1 player in the area.
George Alvarez?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. He gets a lot of play on First Amendment Sports. I'll tell you that much right now.
Does
Oh yeah, he absolutely does. I
Oh,
mean,
we're big fans, but
He was MVP against Prep last week. I think he had 14
he does,
saves.
whatever he does, he
14
does it
saves.
well.
Yeah, he's still in his head. This
Yeah.
is awesome. I love hearing this.
Yeah.
This is
well,
great
he's
stuff.
huge. He's a big kid,
Yeah.
and he's got quick hands.
And he
so-
made 2 saves today to seal the game against Landon. I was there personally, and they were down 1, and he had an uncontested shot on him from about 9 yards that he pushed off. And then at the end of the game, with 3 seconds to go, an absolute blast by Landon's best shooter on a
Graham
high
Hertzberg,
bouncer.
yep.
Yeah, Graham Hertzberg. And he saved that one too. And they all stormed and jumped and dogpiled George, and they won.
That's awesome.
Let me test you guys just for a second.
That's
While I'm
huge.
watching the board, we have a new member on the board tonight. Blaze Gorilla
I don't know.
says.
I don't think he's being serious.
Blaze Gorilla says school without walls is the best in the DMV.
Well, that's great. I mean, they just need to prove it on the field.
There you
I
go.
mean, hopefully they crack the
Blaze, I
top
don't know,
20.
man. I tried to give you some play, man, but
No, that's awesome. Well, send us a film or something. We'll watch them, check
There
them
you
out.
go.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, so we talked. What about the staying at St. John's? The other top player in the area, TJ
TJ Haley, yeah, he was just We just rated him #1 attackman in the area, and he's probably going to be in consideration for one of the best players in the area when that releases later in the season. For DMV Lax, I mean, he's an outstanding quarterback type player who holds the ball for long periods of time and possesses it smartly. Never makes a mistake, or I should say very rarely makes a mistake, and can dodge from anywhere on the field. I mean, he used to be, as a freshman, he was on varsity. He started, he was the lefty. He was on the left wing. Today I'm watching him. He goes from X. He goes from the left. He goes from the right. He goes up top. He gets a short. He can pick. He can feed the ball. I mean, he can do it all. Georgetown is lucky to
He's
have
one
that
of my
young man.
favorite players, mostly because he's going to Georgetown, and I know he's going to help him out. But
There you go.
he's
We're
tough.
all for bias here. Okay?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
all for it.
Great, perfect. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's left-handed. He's a good leader. He's just got everything that you want.
And he's improved his game, too. Like, he took a shot from up top today. I even commented on it. He took a righty shot on the run that was 90-plus miles an hour. I mean, he's really developed his
Yeah,
game.
he wouldn't have done that a couple years
No.
ago.
As a lefty, obviously.
No, lefty. He had no
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and now he is the real deal. And he earned his #1 ranking today in the DMV Lax.
So, it's in basketball, it's easy to change a program at the next level because there's only 5 guys on the floor. Right. So if you're a stud, you're 20% of what's happening. In football and lacrosse, it's team. Talent matters. But it's guys like George, some of the other guys we'll talk about. Are they program changers at the next level?
I think so. I mean, there's a reason why, I have St. John's rated as the top team in the area right now. My Gonzaga friends are going to hate me for that, but I just think they've got the best goalie, they've got the best attackman, and they've got athletes everywhere else. And so they're going to be tough to beat. And, players like that are game changers. There's 10 people on the field, 10 players on the field at a time, so you need more than 2. But those are the great places to start a goal scorer and a goal stopper.
Absolutely. You got the quarterback and you got the defense shored up. That's going to give them a chance this year. And then moving forward, I appreciate that question. But having a guy like that, and St. John's coming in the last few years. I know they won in 17. But this is a bit different now. Now they're not sneaking up on anyone anymore, like you just said.
Yep.
And listen, well played there by the Gonzaga guy.
Yep.
Deal with some of the guff from your friends early in the year. Let this season unfold, gentlemen.
We not only have my friends, but we have my son, and we have my son's friends.
He's a Gonzaga father. Let's get everything on the table right now.
Right. But you know what?
I'm holding with Gonzaga at 1 until somebody
Yeah.
beats them. I'm
Yep.
keeping them there. And
Yeah.
St. John's might have proven today they're 2.
There you go.
But don't forget about Bullis.
Well,
I mean,
look,
Bullis did just lose. We were reported to us a few minutes ago, but
The reality is that, like, St. John's or Gonzaga could win the WCAC. Bullis, Landon, Georgetown Prep, St. Stephen, St. Agnes, any of those schools could win the IAC. It's wide open, I think.
yeah.
Take this momentary station break to remind folks that you're hearing scores that happened today. In WCAC, a lot of lacrosse happens on Tuesdays. When we put out our schedule, we will be on the field for at least 2 or 3 of the next 4 or 5 Tuesday nights. So your WCAC spectacular will come from ringside as opposed to basement side.
You don't want me to come here and shut up some bottles? And,
Somebody needs to babysit the poker table. Yes. That's
I'm a team player.
On
Just to
location.
put that
I
out
might
there.
just, through habit, just be here anyway.
just be in.
Just sit here on
We're
a
about
mic.
to tailgate your backyard. is
Sit
what
on
we're
a
telling
mic, not hooked up to anything, just start talking.
And that's fine.
you. We got cell phones with cameras. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little WCAC versus the IAC. So we kind of talked a little bit about some of the teams, some of the players. We mix some player talk in. I know Gonzaga and Prep specifically, but Friday night for me as a WCAC kind of platform. We're coming at this to a WCAC audience, but we all have great friends from Georgetown Prep. So I promised a clean, neutral call, even from this guy. But at the end of the day, it's the conferences banging up against each other.
Well, so far WCAC's 2-0 this season.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. We'll keep track, but St. John's is kind of carrying the load for the WCAC right now. There hasn't been any interconference matchup until Friday night when Gonzaga gets another shot at Prep.
I think Georgetown Prep's first game where they lost to St. John's was a bit of an anomaly. They got beat pretty badly against St. John's in the first game of the season. They weren't ready for the zone. They just didn't play well. But then they, like you mentioned earlier, they beat Gilman today by a handful of goals. They won their last game against St. Mary's Annapolis in one of the most miraculous games I've ever seen
How does
in
that
my 25
happen, dude?
years involved in the game.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that.
Literally, that's the craziest finish to a game I've ever seen. And they pulled
45
that
yards
off.
out. How many? I mean, all right, never mind. I don't want to interrupt, but 45 yards out, I watched it 25 times, and it just.
Yeah.
But when you see the net, when you see the shot, like you have to watch it 100 times.
Never seen that in my life.
It must have
I've
gone.
been
It must have
involved in
gone
the game
through
for
a
30
lot of
years.
sticks. The goalie didn't even.
Well, you know
really
what
see
they
it.
did was Scott Urich had Kevin Christmas, who's about 6'6", 210 pounds or whatever he is. He stood right in front of the goalie and he screened the goalie. And he doesn't get an assist for that, but he should. And so he just McCarty shot the ball from midfield, and it just went right by Christmas's head, and the goalie never saw it.
Never saw it. He
Went
didn't
bar
notice.
down, game over. It was incredible.
It was unbelievable.
In Annapolis or up here?
It was in Annapolis, yeah. And there's other. We could talk about that game alone for 20 minutes
Right.
because is crazy.
Well, I mean, just quick sidebar. Is St. Mary's of Annapolis still a factor in this
Yes,
region? Okay.
they're very good.
Because they've as long
Every
as
year.
They're good.
When I was a kid, it was Calvert Lacrosse or St. Mary's. That's the only two. There was no high school lacrosse down there. It was a club, and there was always a question of should they be allowed to play against the high schools. But St. Mary's pulled top talent, and they were basically a bully for a long time in the area. I'm glad to hear they're still.
And they play a
get it done.
lot of DMV teams. They're playing. They played last week against Prep. They're playing Landon on Friday night. I think they're playing Bullis. So they'll play DC teams.
I always like to throw a little shine on a good Catholic school lacrosse program when possible. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so getting back to the Georgetown Prep Gonzaga game on Friday, I think what you see is two teams that are eerily similar, to be honest. They both have very strong defenses. They have very good midfields. They have inexperienced attack lines, and then they've got inexperienced goalies. And so you kind of don't know what you're going to get with teams like that. And Prep's a good example. They kind of bombed their first game, and then they played awesome the last two games. And so I think it's going to be a 1 or 2 goal game. It could go either way. Michael Bath is another player from the DMV who I think is essential to mention. He's a junior at Gonzaga. He's a takeaway extraordinaire. I mean, I saw him today throw a butt end check on the front end, and that got the attackman to bring his stick back, and then he threw a back check, dislodged the ball, picked it up, and went down. He scores goals.
That's Rick Beardsley level stuff.
Yeah, it is. And they've got 6 defensemen at Gonzaga who are Division I players. 6 on one team.
Yeah, I got to throw a
Defenseman, you
shout
said?
out to my nephew, JB Strachan, out there doing.
Yeah,
doing his thing.
he's awesome too. And so you go to the other
JB's
side, Max Cooney and Strachan and the Georgetown Prep defensemen are great too. They're all going Division I. And so it's going to be a great matchup. You'd think it's going to be defensive heavy based on what I just said, but I'm sure they'll both score over 10 goals just because it's hard to hold these kids back nowadays.
Yeah, I've been coaching Michael Bath to touch on that since he was a boys. Have been in the Maddux program. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's one of the top defensemen in the country, and he's going to probably play LSM at Princeton. He can move up and down.
That's long stick.
Long stick
Good
midi.
for
Long stick midi, but that's how
everybody.
all these stories are why you become the number 27th ranked lacrosse player in the country in your class.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about here tonight. The names that you just read, 6 Division I defensemen on one team. I mean, this is bizarre to me when you look at it. Like, this really happens every season around here in this league. But listen to you guys talk about the Princeton, Penn State, Richmond starting defense. Tell me that there's 3 more? There's 3 more D1 guys on that same. That's ridiculous, man. This Michael Bath guy was all over the place today, by the way. He was everywhere.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. After George Alvarez, he's my next pick.
There you go.
He's incredible. He's a college All-American. I'd almost guarantee it. He's going to Princeton, and he's. I haven't seen a high school defenseman like him in a long time.
Well, guess what? His younger brother, I'm coaching him right now, and his 8th grade team is going to Gonzaga next year also. Just as athletic. Just as athletic.
The younger
Rob-
ones.
his name's
The
Robert.
younger ones usually
Robert
are.
Bath.
Calvin.
Robert Bath. You'll hear about him in a year or 2.
Well, so you talked about how well these kids know each other. The phenomenon from season to season, because high school sports has become so much more than just the high school. You have your select teams, your club teams, your AAU teams, your travel teams. Thank God, for the most part in the WCAC, playing for your high school is still
Number one,
priority,
yeah.
and it's still number one. It still matters, and that's more than just the WCAC. But talk, I guess, a little bit about the year-round nature of how well these guys know each other.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's my business, and being a former college and high school coach, I respect the spring season, and it's off limits. Like, we don't do anything in the boys programs. Some of the girls programs do practice off and on, but the boys, we don't touch them. They're done as soon as we get to Christmas or New Year's. they're full focus varsity. And so we do heavy summer, no question, and that's where most of the recruiting is. And then we do a pretty good amount in the fall. And
If you're not playing football.
yeah, pretty good amount in the fall. It's usually after football season, and still that is how most of them are going to be recruited, by playing for clubs like Maddux. But Coach Rienzo coaches the #1 2023 team in the country, the Maddux DC Dogs, and they're going to be, they're going to be all these players we're talking about in 12 months from now. They're going to be heavily.
I might have to recuse myself from the basement show at that point.
Loaded. But
It's not allowed. I've
Yeah.
ruled. It's
No,
not
there's no
allowed.
recusal.
so
We've
we
already
stay
had
we
too
stay,
much
we
fun
stay all
tonight.
spring. Yes, we help get them into college, and that's
Free
our,
education,
yeah.
man. Any way you can get it, that's the name of the game. That's another awesome thing about watching these kids, is that they're earning free educations on the court and fields. It's amazing.
But it's a cool thing about what we do here, because you get to see these kids come from 8th grade in these feeder programs, these great young youth leagues that are out there right now. They're battle tested and ready when they're freshmen. You get to watch them for 4 years, and then you get to watch them again for their next 4 years wherever
Right.
they go.
Oh, I love
so
it.
that's
That-
8 years of
yeah.
investment just for one generation of kid. That's why we're doing this stuff, because you're going to
Oh.
see it over and over and over again.
You know what's amazing to me when you watch these high school programs, the elite ones, is the level of strength and conditioning that goes in year round. So
Yep.
you see a Michael Bath, you see a Finn Scanlon, you see a Max Cooney and a Strachan, and those kids are adult males by junior year in high school, which is different than it was 15, 20
they
years
lift
ago.
more than I did in college.
Well, that's not hard.
You lifted in college? You sell out? I thought we had a deal.
we did have an agreement.
I
No
lived up to
math,
my end
no
of the
lifting.
bargain. I can assure you of that.
I'm excited. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I want to get out tonight with just a little bit of fun, and we'll start with a little something easy. I want to ask these guys, best player you played with that was not a lacrosse player by nature or
Played with or against?
with. Well, if you want to go against, that's fine. And now,
With
as
is-
an example, I throw out as an example, and we'll take him out of there. But as a fond memory, we had McNamara, who hasn't had lacrosse team for a long time,
Yeah.
getting one back for the first time this year. Let's go Mustangs. Art Petaway was a
Come on, man.
a great football
You
player for
give me
McNamara.
nightmares.
And he was a beast on the football field, and they got him to come out for lacrosse. And my brother played with him, and he hurt people on the lacrosse.
Can I go
field.
first? Because I got a good one.
There you go. What do
Okay.
you got?
The best athlete I ever played with or against,
Yep.
Casey Powell, one of the
Oh,
best lacrosse players
Where did you
ever
play
to play the
against
game.
him?
When I was at Georgetown, I guarded him when he played for Syracuse.
Yeah.
And we ended up beating him my senior year, which is the first time Georgetown ever beat Syracuse. We made the NCAA tournament for the first time. But on a couple occasions, I had to guard him one-on-one, and he juiced me so bad. I mean, he was so fast, so quick, so athletic, big and strong.
But
He'd be my answer.
That's a lacrosse
He's a lacrosse player.
Yeah, I mean, like
You want a non-lacrosse player who played lacrosse,
yeah,
who was a great
who
athlete?
came out.
Oh, you want a non-lacrosse player?
A guy who wasn't his first
I
sport.
told you guys. This
guy-
is
You
gonna-
told me
it's gonna
you
get
said it was going to
weird.
be uncomfortable questions, not
his
stupid
first
questions.
sport. Not his first sport.
So hold on, let me just reach out. I think I have the solution here.
Please.
At McNamara, there was going to be some guys on the lacrosse team that weren't
In
lacrosse players.
1993, someone who played for Gonzaga, I'm sure lacrosse wasn't their
Hold on.
first sport.
To be fair,
That's all I'm
this
saying.
1992 team is a Hall of Fame team.
Understood.
Inducted.
Understood.
There's probably not a lot of guys that just wandered down I Street that were like, "Hey, throw me
But like
a stick."
like a two-sport athlete guy that maybe played another sport.
Yeah, that's all I'm talking about. I mean, these boys' schools, that's what they live on. They live, you know.
Well, I coached a
WCAC.
boy that just is at Stanford now playing football, but he was the #2 rated lacrosse player in the nation
Now you're
coming out of high school. Ricky Maison, he's playing middle linebacker at Stanford right now, and he went to Episcopal High School. I mean,
So he
that's
laid
an
some-
example of a
worked some
freak
paint on some
athlete.
guys, yeah.
Freak athlete right there, two-sport athlete. Went to North Carolina, was going to play two sports there, football and lacrosse, until Stanford came knocking. And
Yeah,
fo-
you answer that one.
yeah.
That's a winner right
So,
there.
yeah,
Better
so-
than Casey
so-
Powell. Casey
But
Powell,
you know,
come on.
Only the best lacrosse player ever.
He was amazing. I actually got to watch him play when they played Loyola. The whole family, by the
Do
way.
you have any more uncomfortable questions than that? Or?
I wouldn't even call
I'm
that
fine with
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, but you really promoted uncomfortable in the text right there.
I did. I
Just saying.
did. It's not a show
But-
until T.
But you and I played
squirming.
with after college. He and I played
That's
with
what I'm
Gary
rooting
Gate
for.
and Paul Gate and
Take my
Tom Marichek
and all the
and
USA guys.
Jesse Hubbard
Yeah,
and
we played with all these guys after college.
all big names and better players than us. But
yeah,
awesome athletes.
Yeah, but they're not here tonight with a microphone in their hands.
That's right.
That's the
No,
difference.
they're not.
They wish they were.
Do we have? I mean, I was going to see if Keegan or Vines or Blaze Gorilla had any questions for these guys, but we can always save it.
Andrew
for,
Vines?
Yeah, he's saying
Nice.
it loud.
You got a
and
question
proud.
for
He's-
Andrew Vines?
I
he's
do.
heavy-
Oh, we
he's
getting
heavy
some
on the-
chatter?
We can ask- we
He's
can-
heavy on the
we can
prep
ask them
side.
questions.
Vines is heavy on the prep side. He's putting his marker down. Said prep by 10 this Friday.
Whoa, Coach Vines.
I think that's crazy, but
Andrew.
they could win, that's for sure. But I don't know about by 10.
So now that's my first friend.
This is
I
a
walked
great
in-
question,
I walked
actually.
into St. James de Channel and I met Andrew Vines and we did a puzzle. And I know that he was not very good at that puzzle, and I don't know if he's very good at handicapping high school lacrosse games. But you know what? We'll see what happens.
How about this one? Because we did actually touch about it in the green room before we came on. Keegan Tier says, Paul Rabel, is he the best player ever from the WCAC?
Well, I have a Paul Rabel story. I shared it with you outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was head
That's why I
coach at
think
St.
it's-
John's,
yeah.
we were playing in the WCAC championship, and I don't remember the year, but I had Paul Rabel scouted geniusly as the third best midfielder on the DeMatha team. So
I reminded
they
you
had
Andy Gallagher
They had
was
a,
there.
They
He
had a
was a stud.
Gallagher. They had
Yes,
a Looney,
yes,
and I gave them
yes,
full respect. And they
yes.
were old boys, and Rabel was
Yeah.
the young pup sophomore, who I think scored 5 goals in the first quarter, and then, and that
He
was
is
the end. That was the end of that game. But
Paul is certainly the most accomplished today, I would say. But I think the question speaks to, were there other better WCAC players than Paul when they were in the WCAC?
Well, that's what Cabell was saying. He had him ranked third, dude.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
Paul
yeah.
was arguably the best. You could argue that he was, and I would agree with that. Billy Gladding is one that was exceptional. You know, he was point guard on the city championship basketball team too,
Yeah.
so he's a hell of an athlete. To your question earlier,
Yeah, that's
you know, he
great
was a
answer.
great player, but Paul Rabel's just he's done so much after
Yeah.
the WCAC, and
Can't argue with
he
that,
won 1 or 2 national championships at Hopkins, and has been on the world team and done everything. So I'd say that the answer is yes. He is the most decorated player from the WCAC.
yeah, for sure.
Vines just tweaked his prediction to prep by 1.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right.
There's that extra
accept that.
zero.
He's got a big margin of error there.
I hope it's a 1-goal game.
We are going to be back in 3 days. Courtside. I've said ringside, courtside, field side. It's all good. We'll be talking about Georgetown Prep, Gonzaga, Lacrosse. We'll be calling the ball. You're looking at your team. We can't be more excited to be bringing that to you guys. Friday nights when it starts, we will put out a full schedule. We still have some dates we're working to confirm, but we know for a fact we'll be bouncing around IAC and WCAC this regular season. It's going to be awesome. Any parting shots? or
Yeah,
thoughts?
the one thing I just want to say to all the viewers is if you're a basketball fan or you're a football fan and you've been following the show and following the work that you guys do and you don't even know lacrosse or don't like it, you probably stopped listening a while ago, but if you haven't, give it a chance. Watch on Friday, and you're going to love it. It's a fast sport. It's a lot of fun, a lot of contact, and these are 2 awesome teams, so it's going to be a great
And
time.
the energy will be high as well. I mean, it's going to be electric. The all student body will be there for both schools. There'll be a lot of face paint and a lot of fake smoke.
That's
and
the key.
Well, I know
Student
you
sections
guys-
are big for us.
I know you
Shirts
guys.
off, all that stuff.
You just
Yeah,
gained
there you
a spectator in Andrew Griffith Humphreys, our buddy from Wales, who is a
Oh, nice.
weekly dedicated friend of the show.
Great
Excellent.
friend.
Wales.
Excellent.
We're growing. We're
Going
growing.
international.
What time is
Global.
it there?
Oh,
It's about
late.
4 a.m.
Yeah, between
yeah.
2 and 4. Yeah.
and he
This is
does
a
it. And he does
pre-show.
it every
He's
single
coming.
week.
The Redskins show is his main cup
Oh,
of tea.
got it.
Oh, that's great.
But listen, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on another Tuesday night. It's just getting started down here. Come on back another 5, 10, 15 minutes. We got Thank God It's Tuesday on the way. Lots going on in Redskins Nation. The Bullets have turned the game against the Knicks around. 30 wins is still a mathematical possibility. That's all I'm saying.
I love the fact you call them the Bullets.
Of course they're the Bullets. Why wouldn't I call them the Bullets?
Thank you.
And we have I don't know, we have a little bit of March Madness fun coming our way. Never know what's going to happen when the lights go down here in the basement and T Dragons in the house.
I'll be here.
On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I want to say thank you to Cabell Maddux,
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to Friday night.
Matt Rienzo.
This was awesome. Appreciate it.
They will be back and joining us this spring. He's Kevin Ricca.
Yeah, we got a couple of basement naturals down here.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look, there's a couple guys I'm looking forward to seeing this Friday and all season. And just like Matt said, this is nuts. This is top level stuff. These are the best of the best in the country. Keep following this stuff because, we're going to tell you the best stuff we got. And it just got a whole lot better tonight. Thanks for both of you guys being here.
Thank you.
He's Tim Strachan.
Yeah, I'm glad we got some real stickheads in this basement. I mean, I love this sport, but I don't know it like I know football or I know basketball. To have guys like you who have been doing it for decades now makes us look good. It makes us know like we know what we're talking about. Appreciate that. And to all the kids, looking forward to a great season. Until next time, though, stay grounded.
We couldn't pay any more respect to the league and the coaches and the players than asking these guys to help us bring you those games. So thank you guys for that. And it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. We've said it before. We'll say it again. The kids never let you down. Every time we've shown up to do something new,
Not
you guys
around
have
here.
been great. Every single field hockey game, soccer game, volleyball game, no matter what we've shown up to, it's been amazingly fun to watch. And lacrosse is something we should have done more last year, to be quite honest with you. And the fact that we're catching up now, we're just proud to have you guys on board with us to help us get that done. Thank you, and shout out to Vic. I know he's
Bro?
somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's somewhere
I
out
was
there.
hoping to see Vic tonight. Thought maybe
I was
would.
too. I thought
I'm
maybe.
surprised he didn't go on the scroll here with a question or something.
Yeah, 'cause, hey,
Maybe
Vic,
he's Blaze Gorilla. I don't know.
he might be Blaze Gorilla. That's actually a good call, too. Until next Tuesday night, I'm Ken Marangolo, and this was the WCAC Spectacular. Thanks, everybody.
See y'all.
Did you get us there? We're out? No, we're still on? Hey, appreciate you guys. Thank you. Still live. No curse words.
Pull the plug. Just smash
There's
it.
an X.
I think if you just smash it on the ground, it works just fine.